Did you say you had some ideas? I don't know what to talk about today, so let's see what happens. So to someone who is feeling disillusioned by what they previously thought was important and is recognizing that it might be time to take a different path and maybe leave the path that they were on, I think the first thing to recognize is that this is a form of grief. That what you're doing right now is grieving a version of yourself that is dying. And there's a new version of yourself that is coming forth. And it's not the same, of course, as like when a human being we know dies and we grieve over them, but it is grief, the state of grief that we're going through right now. And the first thing to recognize about being in a state of grief is that it is something to be embraced. It's something to be acknowledged, recognized, and sort of, like, come here, let me give you a hug. Grief is always here to teach us something about what it means to be a human being. It's what our souls are here to learn. Grief is such an integral part of what it means to be in time, as in to be going through the changes of time. Oh, that's a good stretch. I'll use that. So when it comes to the grief of a new path, right? We're leaving one path onto a new one. It's a transition, it's a letting go, it's a release, it's watching our own funeral in a way, but more like psychologically. That's also really valuable. Just like the grief I was just talking about, it's something to be embraced and be willing to be in the uncertainty of where that new path is going to be taking us. There's something to recognize about what it means to be human when we are living inside of the body. This was something that a teacher of mine, or he's really a doctor on YouTube. His name is Sten Ekberg, I think, Dr. Sten Ekberg. The way I am is the way I recreate myself moment by moment. The body's cells are recreating themselves all the time. You've probably heard the idea that all of our cells are completely new every 7 years. So for me, for example, I've been a musician for the last 10 years of my life, a performing musician. I played shows. I was trying to make it in music, have a career. And it's not that I'm stopping music, but you recognize that as you go into new seasons of your life, new chapters, new eras, there are new paths that open up. Say I were to resist the new path because I said, no, but I made a promise to myself when I was 16, 17, 18 that this was going to be what I was going to do forever and ever, and I was never going to do anything else and only this. That is aligning myself with death, and not in a good way. It's being rigid, it's being overly firm, it's being hard as opposed to flexible. And when we have these opportunities to what might feel like abandon a part of ourselves, we have to recognize that we're never going to abandon the part of ourselves that matters the most. Our soul is always going to be here forever. It's always going to be here for us. And it's going to encourage us to go into that next path. And so if that's something that you're dealing with, if you're at a point, at a crossroads, whatever you want to call it, where you're recognizing that what was previously important to you before, whether that's fame, whether that's money, whether that's possessions, whether that's music, whether that's art, whether that's a specific career type, whether that's a relationship, whatever it is, if you're feeling like it's time to move forward, know that you don't have to rush at all. There is no rush, but to let go when it's time to let go is the best thing that you can do, because that's aligning yourself with life. That's aligning yourself with the Tao. That's aligning yourself with God, with the universe, with your higher power, with your soul. And it allows you to, as Dr. Sten Ekberg talks about, to be as you are because of how you are recreating yourself moment by moment. We are recreating ourselves moment by moment, whether we like it or not. It's always happening. It's just like manifestation or imagination. It's happening whether we like it or not. It's just the way that humans exist, with their souls and bodies all wound up together. And so it's a question of, how are you recreating yourself? Are you trying to stay in the same patterns that you've always been in? Or are you interested in new patterns? That's what it means to be alive. That's what it means to be human. So follow the new path. Let go of the old one. Bury yourself at your own psychological funeral, because that part of you will rise from the dead, just like some spiritual figures we know. And spiritually, you will have your own resurrection. You will experience what it's like to be a phoenix that rises out of the ashes. And damn, the phoenix needs those ashes to be able to rise out from something. And then you'll fly into the sky like some kind of marvelous thing to look at, and someone will be like, whoa, what is that? and that'll be you. Okay, that's good. Yeah.